Like many of us, I grew up playing video games. Video games were something that helped me to escape reality and be completely drawn into a new one. Particularly, I grew up playing online flash games. You know, websites such as Miniclip had so many different games to choose from. Few games I used to play were games such as Gravity Guy, Raft Wars, and Z. But one of my favorite games of all time was Bubble Trouble. It was basically a game where you play as this weird alien creature that has to destroy different sized bouncy balls. The game works in a simple and plain manner. You spawn inside of the room and there's a ball in front of you. Once you shoot, a chain type of grappling hook appears right above the player and it goes up. The main point of the game is to hit the balls while trying to avoid them. If the ball or the ceiling touches the alien, or if the timer runs out, you lose one of the lives that you have. Once you hit a ball with the grappling hook, another two smaller sized balls appears where the last ball was destroyed. Once all the balls are destroyed, you proceed to the next level. It was quite a simple and easy concept, right? Well, wrong. The concept may be quite simple, but the game is far from easy. So at the beginning, you start with a few simple levels. You know, there's a few differently sized balls and you just need to destroy them and avoid them and so on. Well, it is good till you reach the level 6 and 7. On level 6, the game gets a bit harder. You see, the way the grappling hook mechanism works is that you can only shoot once and you can only shoot again if the hook hits either the ball or the ceiling. Seems quite okay at first, right? Well, wrong again. Well, it is okay if the ceiling is actually not moving, which happens in level 6. Level 6 seems quite okay from the start. You only see a few small sized bouncy balls and you think, oh, this is going to be easy. But then the freaking ceiling starts coming down and you start to panic. It is quite easy to destroy a few of the first balls, but once the ceiling is lower, the hook doesn't really stay out for long and it just disappears, which makes hitting the balls even harder. Talking about low ceiling, level 7 starts with an already low ceiling, which makes the level a freaking nightmare. There's a few different balls coming your way and you can't really dodge them because they're not bouncing high enough, and if you dodge them, it's really hard to use the hook mechanism as well. I used to always hate these two particular levels when I was younger, and I still hate them now. Even playing this game for many years, I haven't fully completed it, and that's why I decided to make an easier 3D version of the game. Okay, so I started by modeling the main character and the weapon models first. I hopped into the Blender, downloaded a reference image and started working on it. As I haven't really worked on 3D models before, and if you remember, this channel is mainly based on 2D pixel art stuff, so this was quite a challenge. At the start, I was struggling just to make a simple shape, but after watching a few tutorials, I kinda got the hang of it. I started to work on the character, and after I was done with it, I added some details such as the sunglasses, the horns, and the coat that was around the character. I added some colors that I referenced from the image, and I was good to go. The last small bit that I did was I made simple chain hook thing that would work as a grappling hook that we saw in the game before. Although the original game does not really have that many animations, I had to rig this model just in case I had to move its arms, legs, and so on. So I quickly added an already pre-built bone structure on top of the model. Then I just quickly moved and scaled all the different bones and connected them two together. After the bone rigging was done, I imported all the objects into Unity. Once I had all these models imported into Unity, I started to work on the player movement. The player movement is quite simple, as remember the player can only move from left to right. Once the movement was done, I started working on the grappling hook code. So once the player presses a space button, a grappling hook shoots from above the player's head. This was quite easy to implement, so I just quickly did it and moved on. The next thing was to finally add the bouncing balls. I used a physics-based system where I changed the different bounciness of the balls. I added a ball destruction system as well. So if the player hits the ball, another two small balls appear in the position of the previous ball. For different sizes, I just simply divided the scale of the previously destroyed object by 2. That kind of just made every single object destroyed after just a bit smaller. After the simple logic for the ball and the hook was implemented, I moved on to the player animations. I quickly made a few simple animations for the player's left to right movement and the player shooting. Now, at this point, we kinda had a simple prototyping game working. So now, once you press play, you have a bit of time to prepare, and after that you can start shooting at the bouncy balls. Once all the bouncy balls are destroyed, you move on to the next level. Okay, the last thing was left to do is the UI. I began by creating simple things such as the timer, player score, and the player lives counter. The player can gain score in 2 ways. First way being that the player gets points from hitting or destroying the balls. Second way of getting score is that the player gains all the remaining time left in the timer as the score. So, for example, each level starts with 45 seconds in the timer. So if the player completes the level in 20 seconds, the timer remains with 25 seconds, which is then added to the total amount of the score. After that, I moved on to the more visual side of the game. I got some brick and colorful background images from Google. I used the brick texture as the walls, and I used the colorful images for the background textures as well. The simple UI was done. Now the only thing remained was adding more levels. I quickly added different levels that were inspired by the original game. A few starting levels I made to be quite easy, like in the original game. After I was done adding all the levels, I quickly made a simple main menu scene, and I added a final scene when the end of the game is reached. This is the final result of the game. I think in the end, it came out better than I was expecting it to be. All of this modeling and the game building work paid off. I feel the only downside would be the bouncing ball physics. Sometimes they can just roll on the ground or not bounce properly at all. And I think if I was doing this properly, I would probably have some kind of a sound effects and maybe different types of weapons or something like that. I will be uploading this game into my .itch.io page. If you're interested in playing it, you can find it in the description. Be sure to check out the original game first though. As this video took a while to make, I had to skip this week's devlog from a pixel art 2D platformer. By the way, the link is in the description, you should check it out if you're new here. After this video, I will continue working on the game. Be sure to follow my socials like my Twitter and Instagram if you're interested in the game's development, as I will be posting the updates there. As usual, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you in the next video.